Hey guys, today we have the all-new 2026 Subaru Outback. So it's hard to believe, but the Outback has been with us for almost 30 years, and the newest 7th generation is a little bit different than its predecessors. Subaru dropped the idea of a race station wagon in favor of a full-blown crossover SUV. Yeah, I mean, maybe some will think that it's still a station wagon, but I see more of an SUV, something like a Hyundai Santa Fe in it. Now, one of the reasons why it happened is because Subaru discontinued the legacy which the Outback was based on. There's no more legacy, so we only have the Outback now, and that gave designers a little bit more freedom when it comes to making a car that's more practical, more rugged, more serves a purpose of that pseudo off-roader. So the car is still based on Subaru's global platform. The wheelbase is the same as it was in its predecessor, but we have some minor changes to the suspension to reduce NVH. It's still a strut front setup, multilink in the back combined with passive non-adaptive dampers in most models. If you get the more rugged Wilderness model, then that will have adaptive dampers, so that's pretty surprising. The Wilderness will also give you raised ground clearance. In the standard model, we have 8.7 inches. The Wilderness will give you 9.3 and some extra cladding. As of design, it's typical Subaru. It's not gonna make you fall in love with this car, but I think it looks pretty attractive. At the end of the day, I'm still glad that we have some form of a station wagon in a world where wagons are disappearing. Volvo discontinued their V60 and V90 cross country. I don't think there's gonna be a new A6 all-road, so we only have Crown Signia and a Mercedes E all-terrain. As far as I can remember, let's take a quick look under the hood and talk about engine options. We have two different variants. We can either get a 2.5 liter flat four, which makes 180 horsepower, or you can upgrade to a turbo model, which has a 2.4 liter turbocharged flat four that gives you 260 horsepower and 0 to 60 in around 6 seconds. Obviously, both models are paired with a CVT that puts on the power to all wheels using Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive system. Wish we had struts, not the good old stick, but when you look at this engine bay, look how easy it is to work on it. We have our heat exchanger here, our oil filter, everything is super easily accessible. Even if we ever have to replace those super expensive LED headlights, the access here seems pretty simple. Some Boxer icons here since 1966. Alrighty, let's jump inside and talk about the interior space because that's where also a lot of changes happened. Very comfortable front seats. We have extensible thigh support. They're obviously power operated in this touring trim with seat memory. Very easy to get in and out of it. It's an Outback at the end of the day. We can start it up. Now, looking at the cabin, Subaru finally gave their designers a little bit more freedom, or they hired right people because it's not what we're used to. We have different textures. All the touch points are soft where they have to be. Not a lot of piano black plastic, and great usability. Wireless charger, decent sized cup holders. We have a good amount of space under the armrest. We do get a good old 12 volt power outlet, USB-C, USB Type A. The glove box is also okay, and everything is nice to the touch. All the stuff, touch points, everything that you interact with feels nice. That also includes buttons. We have physical climate controls. They're back. How nice is that? Ventilated seats in our top touring trim. They're also heated. And you get inside this cabin and you know what's where right away. You don't have to spend hours on figuring out how to turn your heated steering wheel on or how to change your fan speed. Everything is logically laid out, so the ergonomics are pretty good. Right in front of us, we have a new digital gauge cluster, which is fairly customizable. You can change what it displays in terms of vehicle data, your fuel consumption, tire pressures, media you're planning now. You can have also different designs. Loading navigation, you can use a built-in map provided by TomTom, or when you connect via Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, you're gonna have your Apple Maps, Google Maps, or Waze displayed right there. So that's pretty cool. Kind of muted driver assist view and somewhat traditional gauges. the biggest change, new infotainment, it finally works. It's super easy and responsive. There's no lags. The Apple CarPlay connects pretty quickly. Boom, just like that. I can have it displayed on a full screen, and it's done very, very well. The position is also good. I don't really have to reach that far to control it if I have to. So Subaru finally listened to our complaints and addressed the biggest issue we had. The vertical screen that was in older Subarus was just a nightmare. This home screen kind of reminds me of Windows 10 select screen. That's okay, I'm just gonna have it on this view where I can see my map, my media, or I can use Apple CarPlay. Alrighty, let's take a look at the back seat, see what it's like to be in there. I'm 6'1", that's my driving position. I have plenty of space for my legs, plenty of headroom as well. My feet fit nicely under the seat. We also have good materials here, so Subaru didn't cheap out there. Armrest, heated outer seats in the Stop Touring trim, 2 USB ports, one Type A, one Type C, and yeah, very nice dashboard design. I'm really surprised by the interior quality, by build quality. Subaru has done everything right. So, great job, guys. You can take a quick look at the cargo area. Obviously, power operated lift gate. Here's our tow hook cover. You can tow 2,700 pounds with models that have naturally aspirated engines. The turbo models can tow up to 3,500 pounds. So, not too bad. We don't have a conventional cargo cover. Subaru gave us this, which can be arranged in different ways according to this guide that we have. I still prefer the old traditional one. Some storage under the floor, and if I remember correctly, yes we do. We do have a spare tire, so that's nice to see. 12-volt power outlet, some hooks, and we can also drop the seats from here. So usability is there. That is a great thing. Come on, get into place. Oh, it tells you how big your dog can be. That's pretty cool. What do we have here? Well, that's for the cage. Well, we all love dogs, and Subaru love dogs as well, so. Alrighty, let's put this bad boy in drive, see how it drives on our favorite back road. Oh look, we have another Outback coming. Alright, so again, we have a 260 horsepower Boxer 4 that is turbocharged. 0 to 60 takes around 6 seconds, and this is a perfect engine for the Outback. I've driven the one with the 2.5 and it felt a little bit sluggish. Here it works pretty well with the CVT. We have good amount of low end torque, which you appreciate in normal driving, and you don't really have to rev this engine to get the car going. You can pretty smoothly accelerate, and you're not gonna be met with this whiny rubber bandy effect. Yes, it's still a CVT. It can simulate gears in some scenarios, but you don't want to do this. That's not what the Outback is made for. The fuel economy is average, I would say. Yes, I do understand we have a turbo engine. On a highway, you're looking at around 30 miles per gallon. In the city, I was averaging 20, so that gives us around 25 combined. Not the best, but we have to keep in mind that we have a car with permanent all-wheel drive system. We have a 260 horsepower engine, so there's going to be some sacrifices that we'll have to pay for all that. Let's see how the new Outback handles. We get some safe understeer on the limit. That's typical for Subaru, but it gives me confidence. It doesn't make me want to toss this thing in corners, but the inputs are great. The brakes don't work like an on and off switch, so I can nicely modulate the braking power. And we have good traction in many road conditions. Obviously, a lot of it's gonna depend on what kind of tires you have on your car, but the mechanical grip is there, and while there is a noticeable body roll, I really like how the Outback handles. Let's see if we can do maybe a quick 0 to 60 here. We can brake torque it to build up some boost. Well, auto starts up, we don't want you. And 6 seconds, it's quick. I can't really complain about it. Did a very nice job with tuning the engine. Subaru's turbocharged engines from the past always had some weird power dips, but this new 2.4 unit delivers power very smoothly, and I just wish they decided to put a transmission from the WRX in the XT variant. It has that Subaru performance transmission, which kind of gives you a sensation of feeling of driving a dual clutch unit. Not the case here, obviously, but that's not what you're gonna be using the Outback for. What it really does well is its daily duties. It's super comfortable. The suspension does an amazing job with road imperfections without sacrificing body control. All impacts are absorbed very nicely. You can feel that the structural rigidity is there, and I really have no complaints about it. Steering is also pretty nice. Not too light, not too heavy. We can precisely steer this thing, put it in the right direction. And yeah, good amount of grip. Again, it's not something that is super inspiring to drive, but definitely more engaging than a Toyota Crown Signia, or even, I would argue, the previous generation Outback. Yeah, overall, I would score it 8 out of 10, step in the right direction. Subaru has been working hard and it's paying off. They're trying to get a little bit more market share, and this is a great proposition for people who don't want to have a full-blown SUV but have something different. All right, guys, so that sums up our review on the new Outback XT. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop a comment. I'll be obviously more than happy to answer them. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all later.